Hey guys, Toast here. Welcome to another episode of Custom Kit. This is a series where you get to select every facet of a custom kit, including primary weapon, secondary, grenades, gadgets, and melee, and I'll discuss the different components, my preconceptions prior to using the kit, and then my experiences after having used it. Today's custom kit is courtesy of John Smith, who submitted the French Blue Devils kit. John wrote, "The French Blue Devils. Primary weapon M1907 Sweeper, with the skin the Blue Devils if possible. Secondary weapon MLE M1903. Gadget 1 Rifle Grenade. Gadget 2 Medical Pouch or Syringe. Melee weapon Trench Mace." The reason for this loadout is that this is what the French Blue Devils would have used. This elite group was similar to the German Stormtroopers and the Italian Arditi. These groups all used radical trench clearing tactics. This was probably the least known of all the groups, so I hope you'll give it a try. It'll also let the people watching learn something, as after all, Battlefield 1 is based on historical events. Now, in light of the upcoming They Shall Not Pass DLC that's going to be French-inspired, it felt like this custom kit would be a nice way to prep for that upcoming content. Let's first discuss the different components of the kit and how each one influenced my tactics going into this. Beginning with the M1907 Sweeper, which, to my surprise, I actually had the Blue Devil skin for and didn't even realize it. The M1907 in general is an amazing close-range weapon for the medic class, dealing a maximum damage of 42, which meant that I knew I only needed 3 body shots, or 2 shots if I could nail at least 1 headshot with the 1.7x headshot multiplier. I was going to need to play relatively aggressively, as the M1907 Sweeper's damage drops off pretty quickly, starting at 17 meters, to its minimum damage of 23, which would bump it up to a 5-shot body shot kill, making it much less effective. That said, I love the high rate of fire, making it as effective as your trigger finger is capable of pulling, or in my case rather clicking, and while I don't have the deadliest trigger finger in the Battlefield world, I was confident enough in my ability to take a lot of shots and deal a lot of damage quickly. My only concern going into this was that the Sweeper variant doesn't have the great hipfire accuracy of the Trench variant, and while its hipfire is not necessarily bad compared to other medic weapons, I knew that I was going to have to aim down sights more in close range than I likely would have preferred. As for the secondary, admittedly I rarely use the MLE M1903, as I prefer heavier hitting secondaries and usually stick with either the Mars Automatic or the Auto Revolver. But my biggest concern about the MLE going in was that it didn't have the 3-shot body shot kill potential of the M1911 with the same magazine size, so I was hoping that I wouldn't have to rely on it much thanks to the large magazine of the 1907. Moving on to gadgets, when it comes to playing the medic class, I pretty much always use both the syringe and either the medical pouch or crate depending on the situation, so having to give one of those up was admittedly a little bit depressing, not being able to both heal and revive. To keep with the spirit of the kit, which is primarily designed to clear trenches or tight spaces, I chose to go with the medical pouch since that would help me survive. As for the rifle grenade, I've died to it plenty of times, but I use it very infrequently. I had the choice of either frag, high explosive, or smoke, so because of the aggressive and assaulting nature of this class, I chose to go with the one that would give me the most potential lethality, which was the frag. While not as well known as the German Stormtroopers, I was excited to give this French-inspired kit a go. Now that's what I was anticipating based on the components of the kit, but how did it end up playing out? Overall, it was a really enjoyable kit to use, and one that played similar to what I was expecting. One thing that I had forgotten initially about the Sweeper variant of the M1907 is that it has a fully automatic fire mode, which, with this particular weapon, actually suits it quite well. I didn't use it all the time, but on tighter maps where I knew I was going to get into a lot of close-range engagements, it was nice to have the option to spray without having to continually click over and over. The low minimum damage and quick damage drop-off, as I had anticipated, were frustrating at times, where I had targets that were within my line of sight and that I knew with just about any other medic weapon I would be able to successfully engage, but I just didn't have the power needed at that range and had to end up spotting them and letting them go. That said, in close range I was a force to be reckoned with, and unless I was in a situation where I was taking on multiple enemies at the same time, I found myself coming out on top in most one-on-one situations at the weapon's ideal range. One thing I'm not a particular fan of with the M1907, and this was emphasized during the time that I was using it for this video, are the iron sights. I feel that it has the least accurate iron sights of all the medic weapons, as it has a large bulb at the top of the needle, which makes accurate aiming at anything other than close range much more of a challenge. It wasn't necessarily a deal breaker because most of my time was spent at close range, but I noticed it enough to make me want to mention it. As for the MLE M1903, I switched to it only rarely because of the large magazine and quick reload of the M1907, but the few times I used it I found it was really lacking the power I had wanted from a sidearm. As I mentioned earlier, I prefer harder hitting but slower firing sidearms, and while the MLE wasn't impossible to use by any means, I'm glad I didn't have to use it very often. The medical pack is something I'm very used to using, and since this kit demanded a more aggressive style of play, I found myself very glad that I chose to bring the medical pouch over the syringe. While I found myself really frustrated at times where I saw teammates go down that I could have easily revived, for the sake of my own survival, the medical pouch treated me very well. There were quite a few times I found myself in situations that I definitely would not have gotten out of without them. Now, the rifle grenade was actually a pleasant surprise. I don't use it often, so I didn't realize that you actually get 3 of them, which combined with your standard grenade gives you a total of 4 grenades to use. Frag grenades are very lethal if placed properly, so I found myself able to get at least 2 to 3 kills per life pretty easily when I chose to use the rifle grenades. It was also great for when I saw an enemy that was a bit further away and hiding behind cover, as I had the distance necessary to get the grenade over to their location and usually either kill them outright or at least flush them out of their hiding spot and be able to take some shots at them or spot them. I don't know if I would continue to use it over the syringe and the medical pouch or crate combo, but it was definitely fun to play a slightly more lethal, albeit selfish, medic class. If you're looking for a really strong close-range medic loadout with a lot of damage potential, I definitely recommend you give this kit a try. Thank you again to John Smith for submitting this custom kit, and if you'd like to see one of your own custom kits featured on a future episode of the series, please leave a comment below with the details of the loadout, and I'll select one for the next episode. If you've submitted one on a previous video that didn't get picked, please know that they're still in the running, but always feel free to suggest a different one as well. If you see a kit in the comment that you think is interesting, please leave a thumbs up on it. As always, if you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more content, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, this is Toast, and I'll talk to you soon.